the SEC versus the field in winning a national title. You've got all the SEC teams, and then you've got many, many more teams, including some pretty good ones in Ohio State, Michigan. Texas is not an SEC team yet. Who would you take? SEC versus the field.
Well, I bet based on odds. And you probably have your best odds taking the field. I'm sorry, you probably have your best odds taking the SEC right now, your best payout taking the SEC than you've had in 15 years. And so because of that, I'm taking the SEC because they still have won 14 of 18 national titles. Georgia is still undefeated and still there. Ohio State, who I picked to win the national title at the beginning of the year, they have issues at quarterback. And by the way, when I make a pick to win a national title, I don't say that there's a greater than 50% chance that that team wins the national title. I pick them by a plurality. So I say Ohio State may have a 25% chance. But then all the other teams I would say in the 20 to 15 range would be LSU, Alabama, Georgia. And I'm not changing after LSU and Alabama just lost this week, the second week of the season. And Georgia's still undefeated, albeit having not been tested. So because of that, I'm still taking the field. I don't care what people say about Texas and Florida State. I still don't believe in Steve Sarkisian and Mike Norvell.
I do. After the way they pushed Alabama around at home, I do believe in Texas. Florida State, I'm still 50-50 on, but you got to give them a little credit. Michigan is what Michigan is. Georgia also last year played down to their opponent. I think you've already seen that happen this year as well to some extent. They also did that in the college football playoff last year. Was it against TCU, I believe, that was a pretty close game?
Ohio State. I don't think they played down to Ohio State. Ohio State is loaded with first-round talent. I got to be honest with that.
That's true. But you would agree last year during the regular season that they played down to their opponent, right?
Yes, they did play down to their opponent during the regular season.
If you play down to your opponent against Michigan or Texas or Southern California or Ohio State, you could certainly lose that game. And I think really what you're talking about right now, so I'm going to go with the numbers. I think the teams that could win the national title are, of course, Georgia at number 1, Michigan at number 2, Florida State's number 3, but I don't think they can win a national title. Okay, so I'm still with Caleb on that one. Texas at number 4, so Southern California at number 5 with the returning Heisman winner, and Ohio State that's still trying to find itself. So I'm not including Penn State, Washington, Notre Dame. I don't think those are teams. But basically, I have 5 teams versus your 1. So I will say that if I had to take it right now, I would take the field and those 5 versus your 1 in Georgia that can play down to the level of your opponent. Now, how that changes is if Alabama rights the ship. I don't think Alabama's going to right the ship. I think that is trending downwards, and it's not going to go up under Nick Saban. I think eventually you're going to see that they are not going to be a championship-worthy team for the remainder of his career. There, I said it. And now the other
that is such an overreaction.
Okay, I can take that, but I just don't. I think I've seen 2 years of them be average, and that to me is enough. It's not an overreaction just to Texas, but fair enough. The other team is Tennessee. I mean, if Tennessee turns out to be as good as they are defensively, as good as they are at running the football, and they can shore up the passing issues, be it drops or errant passes, and they're very good at special teams, then you've got 2 teams that are in the conversation for the SEC. But right now, I'll take 5 versus 1 any day of the week, even though I think Georgia is still the best team in the nation. But going back to that Ohio State game, which I referenced and you corrected me on, I do not believe that the gap is as significantly different as it was when Alabama was that much better than everybody else. I don't think the gap is that much different, Caleb.
Okay. I don't think the gap is I picked Ohio State to win the national title this year. So I didn't think the gap was different either. But I've seen I based that off quarterback play, and Kyle McCord is going to be the worst quarterback Ohio State has had since Craig Krenzel. Okay. So that's a throwback for you. I will also say you also forgot another one. Look, I'm going to say it. I did not stop.
You're not going to say LSU, are you?
Yes, I did not stop drinking the LSU Kool-Aid, and I'm going to tell you guys why. Listen to me. Hear me out. Against Grambling, they did what they should have done against Florida State, and they moved Harold Perkins back to defensive end full time. With Harold Perkins back as a full-time edge rusher and not an inside linebacker where he shouldn't be, they won't get torched defensively the way they got torched against Florida State. James Daniels has issues, yes. But John Adams told us yesterday that Garrett Nussmeier may be the best NFL quarterback in the SEC. Are we sure Garrett Nussmeier is not starting by the end of the year, Dave?
Well, he might be, I guess.
I am not pounding the gavel on LSU. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not pounding the gavel on LSU. It was week 1, and they were experimenting with Harold Perkins at inside linebacker, which they shouldn't have to. In 1997, Tennessee lost to Florida 33-20. That was a bigger blowout than 33-22, largely because, as Fred White has educated me on, they were, for some reason, using Leonard Little at middle linebacker, and they were not fast enough to handle Spurrier's fun and gun with that.
Well, that was just hands down stupid. But, I mean, I knew it at the time, and I was like, that was bizarro. But
and Tennessee almost played for the national title in 97.
Yeah.
Still.
Staying on topic, let's take a look at the odds. So see how they stack up. And that, of course, is brought to you by Zen Sports. I want to remind you that I'm seeing clearly why, because Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn enjoy life when you see better. Local vision service for LASIK, cataract surgery, and regular eye examination. Go to ccteyes.com, ccteyes.com. So let's take a look at the odds brought to you by Zen Sports, and use the promo code HOOKED with Zen Sports. And I'll tell you what, betting got better, and I'll tell you more about that. But first, let's look at the odds. Georgia, a plus 225. So to explain to that for those that don't mean, basically you're a 2-1 odd to win a national championship.
Yeah, drop 100, you win 225.
Okay, so that would be 2-1.
Actually, drop 100, you take home 325, so you net 225.
Okay, so then Michigan is a plus 500. Ohio State is a plus 900. Texas is a plus 1100. Florida State's a plus 1200. Southern California plus 1600. And then you kind of get to the fall off of the Penn States and Notre Dame's, which I have no faith in. Alabama's a plus 3300. There might be some value in that. But how does that alter your thinking, if at all, Caleb, based off the latest numbers that we're getting from Zen Sports?
Well, if you set a SEC versus the field specifically, I'm still high on taking the SEC. And I'm not just saying maybe Georgia, even though Georgia's the highest likelihood. There is still Tennessee out there. There is still LSU and Alabama out there. I'm not writing them off. I don't care what anybody says. I refuse to write them off. There's still, wait a minute, Auburn and Ole Miss out there to a lesser degree. I mean, how sure are we that one of those teams won't be competing at the end of the year?
Man, both of those teams, if it were the 12-team playoff, I would say maybe, but because I think they're going to get better through the year. I just don't think they're going to be in position to be able to be that sort of team. I mean, do you really think that they could make a 4-team playoff at this point?
I don't, but crazier things have happened. I do think that, look, I'm going to tell you this. If Tennessee, if it wasn't for the Austin Peay game, I'd be pounding the gavel right now and say bet on Tennessee to win the SEC at least. I'd be picking them to beat Georgia because I don't think Georgia has a quarterback and they got an issue there. I think, again, the problem is Ohio State doesn't have a quarterback. Michigan still doesn't have athletes on the outside. And so USC doesn't have a defense. So who are we looking at? I mean, okay, yes, Texas and Florida State, but I don't see Texas and Florida State matching up with Georgia. Now, again, yes, Texas beat Alabama. Dave, you watched that game. I don't know if you watched that game. I did. People are forgetting this. Alabama, outside of quarterback, was better than Texas for 3 quarters. Everywhere else, they were better than Texas. The problem was Alabama doesn't have a quarterback who couldn't hit the ground if he spiked the ball. Okay? And they have the worst quarterback they've ever had in the Nick Saban era. I take John Parker Wilson over Jalen Milroe. and it's that bad. If they had a quarterback, they're winning that game. Texas pulled away in the fourth quarter because the quarterback play was so awful. They don't have a quarterback. And actually, I'll say this. They're poorly coached on offense. Is that crazy to say, Dave, that a Nick Saban team is poorly coached on one side of the ball? They're poorly coached on offense.
No, I thought they would be. Those odds are brought to you by Zen Sports, the new sports book in Tennessee, revolutionizing the way you earn sports betting rewards. That means no more deposit bonuses that turn into deposit nightmares on Zen Sports. What you see is what you get with their cash rewards program. You get a lot of cash. Use that promo code HOOKED. Use the promo code HOOKED. That's because you get unlimited 5% cash back. For a welcome bonus, you get an unlimited 5% cash back on your betting volume for the first 15 days when you sign up with the promo code HOOKED. That's HOOKED, unlimited 5% cash back. Keep betting, keep earning with up to 3% cash back on their betting volume every month after that. And refer friends to earn a percentage of their betting volume as cash rewards too. Zen Sports bringing the cash back to Tennessee. So if you bet big on sports, you want to be betting on Zen Sports. Zen Sports betting just got better. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Must be 21 or over and in Tennessee to bet. So you really think that Ole Miss and Auburn could make a run at the college football playoff? I just want to go back to that for a second.
I think Ole Miss would beat Notre Dame on a neutral field.
Well, I don't think Notre Dame can make a real run, though.
Okay, fair enough. I think Ole Miss might beat USC on a neutral field. The USC, Lane Kiffin coaching against that USC defense.
Interesting.